Good afternoon, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Rang Film Festival Day 2. And we are here for our next panel, which is Women in Minority. So we are honored to have a moderator with us who's, she is a USC Cinematic Arts MFA graduate. She teaches filmmaking at Houston Community College and continues to develop new projects, including the feature Mustang Martha and short film Twofer. She is producer, writer, and director whose feature debut, Assert, premiered at the Austin Film Festival and was nominated for a Texas Independent Film Award. She has worked on both documentaries and scripted films with credits including The Preacher's Daughter and The Cutting Edge. I'm excited to participate in this as an audience. Here we have Jenny Waldo. Over to you, Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And we are here with the Minority Women in Film panel. And again, I'm Jenny Waldo. I'm a local filmmaker based here in Houston. And I wanted to kind of start off with introductions and have the panelists introduce themselves. And then we'll kind of get started. It looks like some more people are coming in. So I would just go ahead.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Samiya Khan. I'm a Pakistani American full-time actor based in Los Angeles. I'm happy to be here and share my experiences with these wonderful ladies.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Imaan Hasan. I am a Chicago-based filmmaker. Recently graduated with my bachelor's in film, and I'm also very excited to talk about my experiences.
Hi, everyone. My name is Solana Mirza. I'm here with my debut film, Dear Bird, at the Rung Film Festival for the first time. Very excited to be here. And I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Hi, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatima Hye. I'm a local filmmaker. My family is originally from Bangladesh, but I grew up in Houston. I just wrapped on my fourth feature. I usually make kind of artistic genre type films. And thanks for having me.
All right. So as was already discussed, I'm an educator. I teach film over at Houston Community College. So I always start with an educational element. So if you were unaware of the statistics in the film industry, here are some statistics. So in front of the camera, so actors, women generally claim roughly 41 to 49% of lead and co-lead roles in the top grossing theatrical and streaming films. People of color only make up 24 to 32% of those lead roles. And then films led by women of color remain very rare, only a small fraction of the top grossing films. And then behind the camera, female directors make up only 8 to 15% of the top grossing films, and roughly 80% of film directors are white. So women of color is a very small percentage. So I just wanted to start off by congratulating everybody on your work and applauding you for the work that you're doing, trying to change those numbers and putting work out into the world that offer something different. So thank you very much. So to start off with, I kind of wanted to see how those statistics factor into your experiences or your approach to things. I feel like it's one of those things where being a white male-led industry, it's kind of one of those annoying topics that's like always a topic, so I kind of wanted to just start off with like, how do you feel about all this stuff right now? Or, just go down. Yeah.
Well, as an actor, and that too as a Pakistani actor in the industry, I can just give you my own experiences that over 10 years that I have experienced discrimination, expected obviously. But the way I just dealt with it, or at least I've tried my best, and it has at times discouraged me over the period of time and maybe lower your numbers that you were just sharing with us. But I just kept going. And because there's no need for women of color to be taking the discrimination and further lower the count. So it has been tough. For now, I'll just say that much, but it's been a journey.
I think that as a woman of color, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to put into words, because this is my experience and I don't know anything else. You know, I'm a lot newer to the industry, but even when I was in school, there were like professors and people who should have been helping me who like maybe didn't, you know, make me feel like I had a place in film. And kind of like what you said, you just kind of have to push through it. And if it's something that your soul and your heart wants, you're gonna have to go after it no matter what.
Yeah, I think so. My background is in film production, and I am usually the only desi person on any film crew I've worked on. I would say of the like 50 projects I've done, I've hardly met anyone else. So it's in front of the camera, on camera, and then like really back, like below the line crew. It trickles down, you know? So I think finding community is very important for us. And that's why I think events like this are so helpful, because we see each other, and uplifting each other is the very first step. And I'm really glad to have, like, I feel so much support just being on this panel right now. So I think that is a big motivator for me.
So like you said, that it's always a topic, and that does get tiring. Like, I don't think of myself as a female or a filmmaker or a woman of... Oops. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay. Even though I am, of course, like, I'm proud to be Muslim and female and Desi and stuff. But at the same time, you also want to create work that's just unique to you, and that isn't, you know, you don't have to represent every single person in your background, because it's a very big burden to have. So I am happy to see the progress. Like, of course, at the beginning, people probably didn't even know if I could speak English. And then in addition to that, like, they were surprised, like they hadn't heard of very many women who are directors and stuff. But now, you know, there's plenty, so that's good.
And film festivals for specific audiences and for specific filmmakers, I think, are so important, because they are sometimes the only opportunity to get your work seen, to connect with an audience, to connect with other filmmakers and build that community, like you were saying. Because, I mean, these statistics are talking about, you know, the Marvel films and the films that we see in the larger theaters. But in the independent world, there is a lot more variety and diversity in there. And so I definitely think it's, you know, thank you all for coming and supporting the Rung Film Festival and these filmmakers. And so I do want to kind of ask, do you feel like you have a particular perspective? I know for myself, I also, like Fatima was saying, like, I didn't ever feel like a female filmmaker, and especially the movies that were being produced by applauded, you know, female directors were not necessarily ones that I connected with. I mean, I respect Jane Campion. I don't really like her films, you know, so, but so it felt strange to feel very disconnected to something that was like marketed to me. It was like supposed to be for me. And I was like, this isn't like, I love a Harvey Weinstein, you know, film, like all of those, you know, Miramax films. I was just, you know, Quentin Tarantino and all of that. That was more what I was interested in. And so, and I think that that's, again, kind of a journey where once I started kind of taking the helm of my own feature film with Acid Test and just really having time in the industry, I've been doing this over 25 years, and, you know, starting to see how people went through that industry, and kind of, again, how those statistics play out. Like, I started realizing, no, I have to kind of adopt this moniker. Like, I am a female filmmaker. And like, that's just, I kind of feel like I have to brandish that because I don't necessarily want female films to only be, you know, the ones that were being produced. And so it's like there has to be a diversity of experience. And like you said, it can't be shouldered, like I can't be speaking for all women here, you know. So I'm wondering, like, how have you kind of navigated that sense of identity, how you present it, how you, and I'm sure as an actor too, you're probably asked to kind of play different roles that aren't necessarily specific to your ethnicity, right?
Yes. And when I do, when I am required to play the ethnicity and represent, so many times I've come across that they have not done their homework, cultural background, and they're expecting me. I have found myself editing the scenes and just having a talk with them that this is not what we do back home, you know. And they just don't do their homework. I have come across scripts like that.
Yeah.
I think that it's, you know, like you said, it is a lot of weight to put on one person to be like, you are like a Muslim Pakistani woman filmmaker, and you are all of these things, and you need to be all these things all the time. I am all those things all the time, but not all of my films are going to represent that all of the time. And, you know, I think it would be a little disingenuous of me if I were to only make films that were representative of that all the time. And, you know, again, I'm pretty early in my career, and so the film that is screening at this festival doesn't necessarily have to do with the fact that I'm Pakistani and Muslim and all these things. Obviously that played a hand in my experience, and it is what I know. And so if like you watch the film and that's what resonates with you, then that's what resonates with you, and that's amazing. But it's not necessarily like the intention was to just make people feel seen. And it doesn't matter if you're a man, you're a woman, you're black, white, I don't care. Like, as long as you feel seen and you feel heard and you feel represented by seeing this experience that's very vulnerable on screen, that means I've done my job.
Yeah, I think so. For me, it's twofold. When I started the application process of, you know, I have this film, which festivals do I apply to? Everyone, like mentors, people in my life said, you know, you should look for like festivals that focus on women filmmakers or like women of color, people of color. That's where you'll really thrive. And I was like, oh, so you don't think I can get into a festival unless it's based on that? So that didn't feel great. And I tried to not approach it that way, because I'm happy to be at festivals like this, of course, but also we deserve spots at other places too, right? So I think we know we should have a seat at the table at all of these events. And then as far as the creative process goes, for me, I definitely, when I first started writing, I thought, okay, I'm going to write about my own life experience as a Pakistani American woman, because that's what I know, and that's what people want to see. Like a niche, it'll cater to a niche market or something. But then I was like, actually, I find it very limiting. And I still struggle with the question of erasure. Like, I don't want to erase, when I write a script, I don't want to erase anyone's identity of like where they're from, where they grew up, what their religion might be. But at the same time, I feel like that blank canvas is a better way to approach it. And I think that it can really expand the storytelling more if you don't focus so much on that identity.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys brought up about the, it's nice to hear that Rung took a film that wasn't necessarily like about you being Desi or female or whatever, which I think is great, because it's frustrating as, you know, when you go out for support, that people want to be like, okay, only if on screen you show like they have to be Muslim or they have to be female or Desi or whatever. And it's like, but you could support me. I'm female and Desi and Muslim and stuff. So you can still support me even if the content isn't what you exactly think is what I should be doing. And the other thing, I guess, you were kind of asking how we navigate stuff. I think just from a young age, like, you know, I was the first child of immigrant parents. I think I just got used to not fitting in right away. So I just never tried. So in a way, it's like, I think I just always had like a universal audience, because I kind of relate to every group, because I kind of don't fit in 100% to any group. So in that sense, you know, I think that it's always going to be my voice no matter what the content is.
I mean, you're based in LA and working in the larger industry. I'm curious kind of how do you balance that with like other independent projects or other work? And for the other panelists, like how much do you want to kind of work towards that larger, Hollywood career,
Well, I mean, my work keeps me busy. I'm traveling a lot, but at the same time, I am actually working and I have launched a platform for Pakistani creatives, and I named it Pakistani Artists in Hollywood. Pakistani Artists Together in Hollywood Path. And that's something I felt I really needed to do something about it. I actually thought of it back in 2019, and then COVID happened. So then whenever it's meant to be, so 2024, I launched this platform for us Pakistanis to come together, collab with each other, work with and for each other, because that's something it's very needed in our community of creatives. And that's something besides my acting career that I've been focused on, and trying to just get the word across, because I see other ethnicities, especially in LA, they're very united and they're very supportive of each other. So that's something is lacking in our Pakistani creatives, and most of the time we don't even know we are out there. So I really felt that it's time that we needed to come together. So that's something besides my acting career, that's something I'm working on the side. And alhamdulillah, it's mashallah, doing well. If anyone's interested, tell me later.
That's wonderful.
So being in Chicago, Chicago is actually growing in terms of like its independent filmmaking community and industry. And where I'm at right now in my career, I'm okay staying in the independent spaces, not necessarily because, I'm a Pakistani woman and it's going to be difficult for me to make it. That might be true, but I know if I wanted to, I could, right? And where I see my life headed right now, I see myself staying in an independent space because of who I am as a person. And I know myself, and I know that is, I believe, where I would be happiest. If something changes down the line and I submit a script and they're like, oh, we want to make this an A24 film, I feel like, okay, let's do it, but where I'm at in my career right now, we're not there. And I'm okay with that. And I don't really feel, alhamdulillah, I don't really feel pressure to be like this big wig Hollywood star, as long as I'm making art that changes people and that feeds my soul. That's what's important to me right now.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for anyone to enter the independent space. Independent, I feel like, is anything like if your film is less than $20 million to make, that's like as indie as it gets. And I'm like, oh boy. I have worked on a range of productions, and my favorite ones have been like the really small, like $1 or $2 million films that like where the crew wears multiple hats and everyone knows each other and it's a really intimate environment. It's a lot harder because you have to do a lot more work, but I feel like it's more rewarding too. So from my experience of working in bigger budget shows versus smaller, I enjoy the smaller ones. I'm also not going to turn away any opportunity that comes up, obviously. I mean, that would be such a blessing, but yeah, I also don't necessarily like, no offense, Marvel films aren't my jam. So that's not like what I aspire to. And I think that intimate storytelling goes hand in hand with like independent filmmaking. So I'm very happy to live in that space.
Well, so I am local to Houston, and I know you asked about Hollywood, and there's a lot of talk about Hollywood, like will it even exist anymore, right? There's a lot of production stuff moving out of California. I've met people that moved to Texas, right? And then Atlanta and other places are hubs. But I think what's cool is that the film industry is spreading everywhere. So it's like you don't literally have to be in a specific city. Texas is trying to bring a lot more people to this place. So I think the avenues are opening up a lot more for people. You don't have to go to Hollywood. I don't even know if, I don't know the future, But there's so much talk about the whole industry there being dismantled anyway, and people spreading because of production stuff, the cost of living, AI, all that stuff. So it's like, I just think it's getting more and more spread out, and there's like little hubs and places, you know, like Arizona, Atlanta, other places. I mean, I hope Houston will be like that too. But yeah, I mean, I think anyone would take an opportunity and travel for that, but that's just the norm anyway. So I think whether Hollywood or not, you're going to be traveling for if you get an opportunity.
You wanted to add?
I just wanted to add that talking about independent tour, because the industry has not really recovered since our strikes and all. So everybody's heading towards creating our own content. And I actually just nosedive in one. I have never written before. I'm actually just self-trained myself for script writing just the last 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I am 20 pages into it,
Oh.
and I'm going to produce it as well. And it's something, hopefully, two directors have actually said that they have not seen on a small or big screen. So that's something for you all to watch for, inshallah. Next week is my production. So that's something I wanted to
Wow,
add.
that's amazing. Well, good luck. So in terms of, I just totally lost my train of thought. But Fatima, you were talking about the future, and sustainability is a big thing that in the industry at large people are talking about. It's something in the independent space people have been talking about for a long time, because sustainability with cheap budgets is very difficult. It's one of the reasons why I teach, you know, so that I have steady income and I can feed my film habit and focus on the art. How do you guys kind of navigate that work-life balance, like career push? I mean, especially just graduating from college, you're kind of like, I'm ready, and the economy is trash right now. So yeah, how do you kind of balance all those things, or what do you guys think about the future?
Good question. I don't know. And I'm kind of just figuring it out as I go. Right now I'm working like odd jobs and, you know, doing some freelance work, I also do like studio art, like painting and drawing. So doing some of that for work as well, and just making any money I can, any way I can. And it's interesting because in a way I've found that it makes me more creative, specifically with film, you know, and getting to know a bunch of different people. Like right now I'm working at a garden center, and, you know, getting to know my coworkers and a bunch of crazy people that come in as is a customer service job. You really get inspired. And I think, you know, that's something that people take for granted. If you're constantly in the film world, you're in a vacuum. And to make good art, you need to be outside of that, and you need to be able to, you know, get to know different kinds of people and hear different kinds of stories. And right now, with where I'm at in my career, that's kind of what I'm focusing on. And again, like the film that is screening here, Spectator, it was $300.
Oh wow.
And all of
Wow.
yeah, that was the budget. It was $300, and all of that went to catering.
Food.
So
Ironically.
yeah, it was, we had a little bit of money and a dream, and we made it work. And so learning to be scrappy is something that doesn't work for me, not just in film, but just in life in general. And it's, you know, alhamdulillah, something that I feel like I've gotten pretty good at. And yeah, so the skill I'm going to probably be using for the foreseeable future as I kind of navigate post-grad, because it's a process that's fairly weird and strange. Yeah.
Anything to add? I mean, how's
Yeah.
production? So you're in like the production world in Atlanta.
Yes,
right?
yeah. I work in the art department.
Okay.
So set decoration and all of that. I mean, it's better that I'm getting paid to work rather than paying to go to film school, I think,
Right.
because I definitely wondered if I should. I've learned a lot on the job, so very, very thankful for that. I think as far as just how to get through every day in our industry, I think for everyone, being motivated and like doing it even though everyone's telling you no and everyone's telling you it's impossible, and we all know how difficult it is to succeed in this industry. But finding the will to keep going is really like 90%. I don't know. Pick a high number. It's it's most of it, right? It's like, I'm gonna do this even though it costs a lot of money and it's really hard, and I'm probably not gonna. No one might ever see this, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I want to. I think that is that's the key for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also teach, so I teach at San Jack and HCC and Alvin Community College, so I teach philosophy. But I like what you were saying about being well-rounded, because that's what's beautiful about film, right? It's writing and direction and art and music and acting and just everything, right, all together at one time. So you really do need a deep well. But again, about the future, I don't know what's going to happen, because is there going to be an industry? Is it going to be standard? I mean, we've changed things like theatrical versus streaming and stuff, right? And every kid nowadays is a filmmaker. I mean, if you go, I'm a filmmaker, that's cool. But every little kid out there right now that's 5 years old knows how to upload things and talk and present themselves. That's so different from when we grew up. It was like, there were a few kids that were bold and you would go up and talk about themselves, but most people wouldn't, right? Well, we're just in a completely different world now. Everybody knows how to present themselves or take pictures or post or whatever, They know how to edit. They have all these tools at their fingertips. So I don't really know how much of an industry there's going to be, but I agree with like what you were saying, that you just keep going with what you want to do in your dream, and hopefully it works out. But if it doesn't, you're still going to do the same things that you've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's, I often talk about there's, and they call it, they're always reminding you, well, it's show business. There's a business aspect to it, but the business has really broken, especially in this last iteration with streaming, and so we're really in kind of a down cycle. And, especially as an academic and as a teacher, like I teach film history, and seeing the cycle of phases of people experimenting with this new medium or new technology and like getting success and getting money and becoming the establishment, and then getting too big and then kind of falling apart, and then the new wave comes through. I do think we're in this kind of down cycle, and who knows what that next future is. But I do think that there's, and especially in America, the idea of being an artist is not very supported, and so there's the art, and then there's the business side of things. And over the history of art, most artists had patrons or people to support, or they came from money, and so they had something to support themselves, so that they could focus on their art. And now, and in this industry, it's kind of, you're supposed to be factoring in these business aspects, when to a large extent there is no business for it right now. The market is just not holding up. And so I do think it's it's great to hear that you guys are kind of pushing forward, because you're right, it is a hard industry no matter what. Even the most privileged person is going to have a hard time. And my friends and I often joke, like, every time we hear like an A-list actor talk about how hard it was to get this movie done, I'm like, give me a break, But then it's also like, well, if it was hard for you, Oscar-winning A-list actor, to find funding for this film, then it's hard for, it's just hard. So why do we do this? Why do you do this? What brought you here today?
I seriously never thought in a million years I would be an actor. Here I am. I've always been very animated among my friends, and they always told me, oh, you need to be on the screen. I said, not me. And here I was. First ever, I think I've always been into entertainment one way or the other. Started my career with fashion modeling and stuff. But I'd done so many things over the years after my kids, actually. So I came to a point, okay, what have I not done yet? Like, okay, let's see what I've not done yet. And I was visiting Pakistan, and Hum TV were holding some auditions. I literally just walked in and I said, okay, you know what? I'll just give it a shot. First time ever in front of a camera. And that was she said, these are like some scenes. I did one. She said, okay, can we do a different character? I did the second one. And the third one, she went like, now can you do this? And I said, Are kambahat kitne karwaegi mujhse? She said, I did not expect that voice from you. I said, well, there's more to it. So then to fast forward, she said, can you please just stay? We have 3 scripts. And I said, no, I'm leaving for LA next week. So I came back to LA thinking that, okay, maybe there is something that maybe I should tap into. I literally just went for it then. Whatever came towards me, I accepted and I received. And alhamdulillah, I was, I guess, in the right place at the right time, that I met my mentor. And he walked me through, literally holding my hand. And here I am, mashallah, and alhamdulillah, I just completed my 5th feature film. And it's actually playing in Houston on 31st. Let me just give it.
Yeah, please plug it.
Everybody who's here, it's 31st. It's called Sanvi. And I can meet you later and then give you some more details if you would like to go see it.
Absolutely.
So as I mentioned, I also do studio art, and I've been a very artistic child, an artistic person since I was a child. And, it was kind of always something that I knew I wouldn't be able to live without. And when I was in high school, actually, I was like, oh gosh, I have to figure out what I'm going to do in college. I don't know what to do. Like, my dream job would be to sit in an art studio all day and just paint for hours on end, but I don't know how sustainable that is. So I did some research, and I was like, what jobs can I find where I can be creative and still pay rent? And I found actually art direction for film. And so I went into film school with a film major, being like, okay, I'll be an art director. I can do that. And then I can do my actual art, the art that I actually like, on the side. And then I took my first film class, and I was like, oh, I actually really, really like doing this. And then I took my first directing class, and I was like, oh, I really like doing this, actually. And now here I am, and again, I still do my my art on the side. It was my first love, and it introduced me to film, which is a lifelong love. And I'm very grateful that one Google search led me down this path, because it's kind of crazy how things work out. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I've tried to quit the industry many times. It keeps pulling me back in. But yeah, when you ask why, I'm like, that's a good question. I don't have the answer to still. I'm like, why did I pick the most expensive, difficult art form that one could possibly pursue? I'm like, I should have just, if my parents had it their way, I would have been doing something completely different. But I'm still working on an answer to why. I mean, I do think, as Fatima was saying, that the great thing about filmmaking is it encompasses, there's photography, music, artwork. There's so much that it has it all. And I think that that's what I do love about it. It is, it's hard. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny that you said that, because I think the same thing. I'm like, why did I pick the most expensive, hobby ever besides owning your own space program? But but I came up to it kind of last, because when I was a kid, I loved reading a lot. So I wanted to be a writer. And then when I was a teenager, I loved music so much. If it wasn't for Islam, I would have probably just been a musician. And then eventually, I guess I came back to it because I loved all the arts anyway. And then it just kind of, everything goes together in film. So that's kind of how I ended up here.
And is there, for the panel, one of the kind of things in the description talks about how do you navigate fundraising or finding people for your projects. You guys touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to see, and especially you're going into production on a new project, what are some of the ways that you go about trying to convince people? Because that's the other thing that's hard and different about filmmaking from other arts, is that it's a team sport. You cannot do it by yourself. Even when you're acting in it, you need somebody else to also act in it and be the camera person or the sound person and all that. So how do you go about, you know, what do you feel like is your either, you know, push or thing that you say or thing that you feel like is important to try and tell the stories that you want to tell?
As far as
Just for you as an artist, or like as what, you know, how to get people on board. Like, do you feel that what is, you know, how do you convince people, or what is one of the things that you think is unique to you maybe, or, you know, how you go about convincing people?
For my project, since it's the first time for me for production and writing, they actually I didn't have to do much convincing. And I was like, you know, this is what my concept is. This is, you know, and it has endless scenarios, and it's going to be a comedy. So they literally said, I want in. So I didn't find anybody to literally had to convince them per se, but funding is a thing. I mean, we thought, okay, I thought about it that, okay, maybe we can all pull in, because no, the grants are really very hard to qualify for and stuff. So then I ended up deciding that I'm just gonna have to do it myself, because it is really tough out there. Nobody wants to invest, nobody wants to, especially for the first time. So you just have to kind of suck it up and, you know, go for it.
For a spectator, it was my parents were like, I was like, hey guys, I need money for catering. They're like, here's $300. So that's where I fundraised from, for that one at least. And I recently co-produced with my good friend a film that's very, like, you know, socially pertinent right now. It's about immigration. And with that, it was a more lengthy process. It took us a long time to figure out our fundraising strategy, and we kind of had to figure it out as we went, in terms of like, how do we ask people to give us money? Because it feels weird, you know, like reconnecting with people from, you know, high school, like, hey, I know we haven't talked in a long time, but I'm making a movie and I would like you to support it. And, you know, I would say that just getting over that initial discomfort is really important. And in a weird way, I honestly, it was nice because I kind of reconnected with some people who I hadn't spoken to in a while, and they're excited. They're like, "Oh, you're making a movie? That's really cool, actually, and let us know. You know, here's $50." Yeah, everything helps. It all adds up, and, you know, let us know when it's finished. So, you know, getting over the discomfort, because when you conceptualize everything, you have to realize that the art is more important than you being uncomfortable for a little bit. And so if you have that itch and you really need to make it happen, you're gonna have to find a way to make it happen. Yeah.
Fundraising was torture for me. It was really, really hard. Begging family, essentially. As far as the crew and everything else, all the other elements that went into making my film, so fun fact, I was in a punk band in Atlanta. And so I was really in the punk scene in Atlanta, which is a lot of everyone there is just like DIY is the way to go, you know? So I met so many people through there, like folks who work in restaurants or work in like a screen print shop. They also are really good at like, one's a sound engineer, like my friend, he records music for other bands, and so I asked him to do the sound on this film. And someone else I know, he works at the local the only VHS like shop left in Atlanta, and he was the grip. So, you know, I recruited my crew that way, and it was everyone who doesn't, you know, normally get paid to do this, or not on the scale that you would, you know, normally think of. But I got my little band together that way, and that was awesome because they know how to, you know, get things done like a small scale and get gritty and things like that. So yeah, it was great.
Well, okay, so I've done this for maybe 13 years, and so I've tried every single thing. Okay, so I've done my own savings, I've done crowdfunding, I've done arts grants, which that's a lifesaver for me. I've done co-ops where we all kind of pitched in and we each like own a part of the film and stuff. So Yeah, it changes every single time, your budget, your target, everything that you want to do. This one, we have some arts grants and stuff, but I was a little more patient. We just wrapped it. It's called Elif, but it's the Hebrew Elif, not the Arabic one, because it's about a mathematician in the 1800s. And we're in post-production right now. And if anyone is interested, please talk to me after, because it's a fiscally sponsored project, meaning anyone who contributes to it can take it off their taxes, get it as a tax deduction. So I've tried every single version of this, like just paying out of pocket with my own savings. And even when we had the stimulus rebate in COVID, I've tried everything. So. Except for I haven't got investors, because that's scary to me, like having to pay someone back. But besides that, I've tried everything else.
Well, and I think, I mean, knowing your work as well, like you do have a very specific voice. I mean, Aleph is a very different, it's kind of a diversion from your other projects, but I know that in terms of crew and cast, like they want to work with you because of the type of stuff that you do is always, you know, very interesting. And so I think and that's what's exciting, I think, about the independent space, is that you have kind of nothing to prove and no one to challenge the experimentation that you want to do and explore. And so I want to see, like, what are some of the things that you want to do next? You know, what are something, even if it's long term in the future, like what's something that excites you about and motivates you to kind of keep going?
Seriously, and to be honest, the more I am doing this, the more I know this is what I want to do. And I'm just constantly working at my craft and enhancing it and making it stronger. So just in the last few years, I have become a method actor. And that's something that has attracted me, and that's really like made me an actor who I am today. So I do, most of the times my roles are like dramatic and stuff, and I don't know where this comedy project came from, but I'm just going for it. So let's see. Yeah.
Right now I'm in the process of writing a feature, which is an interesting endeavor because I've never written anything over 15 pages. So this will be interesting, but yeah, so I'm excited for that. Hopefully, I'm hoping to have it done by the end of this year, and then going into 2027, you know, just spending a year doing fundraising, and then hopefully in the years to come can produce it. But it's kind of like, I'm thinking back to the question you asked, like, why are you here? Why did you pick this profession? And like you said, the more you do it, the more you realize you need to do it. And even
It's an addiction.
it is, it really is. And all your friends and family think you're crazy because they see how stressed you are, and they're like, how could you ever do this for your life? And I'm like, I can't wait to be on set. You know, I really can't. And it's something that you just need to do. And so yeah, just being able to, you know, I love Spectator with my entire heart, and it's, you know, very, very important to me and very close to me, but I'm also excited to pivot to something bigger and something that, you know, is still me, but a different side of me. I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed with what they've said. You know, I am a bit of a masochist already, and then doing this, I'm like, oh yeah, this just confirms it. It's very hard. I don't know when I'll be able to make my next film, because I'm like, well, I don't have another $10,000 to spend. So once that rolls around, then sure, I'll make one. But I'm enjoying writing right now, and it's hopefully something that, I mean, people are telling me to try doing a vertical. I'm like, I mean, I think I'm sure people have told you all, because it's just where things are headed, right? And I mean, sure, who knows really? I don't know what I'll be doing next, but I'm sure the future will tell me, make that decision for me.
Yeah, I like that y'all brought up the stress and also just like the dream and stuff, because yeah, there are times when it is so overwhelmingly stressful where I'm like, why did I start this? And you know, it'd be so much nicer to just relax and take it easy, you know. But I have to remind myself, like, you did this to yourself. You wanted to do this, you know, this was your dream and you wanted to pursue it, so you have to follow through. So make sure. So as far as like what would be the dream for me, it's like I never really wanted to be like a director for hire, because I know some people get into filmmaking where they're like, it would be great if, you know, Marvel or whoever called me and said, direct this movie. For me, I've just always been the writer, director, producer, kind of an editor of the film. So I just like making my own films. That's my dream. And if I could do that, I'd be very happy. And it'd be great if I was able to make money or standing in the industry or get good wide distribution and stuff. But if not, that's okay too.
Great. All right. So now it's time. If anybody has questions, wanted to open it up. Oh, hold on.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, ladies. Had such a good time watching Dear Bird and Spectator yesterday. Super excited to catch up with your projects as well. My question was, so I'm also a writer director. Something that I find a bit challenging is like staying true to my art, but then also making it sustainable and thinking about distribution. So I wanted to ask, how focused are you on a distribution strategy at the inception? Are you thinking about that from the forefront as you write? And then how do you balance that with staying true to your story? Versus like, do you do it sometime post? Do you do it somewhere like halfway along? Like, what does that process look like for all of you?
I don't, when you said distribution, I was like, huh, what's it's just, that's how far, like, that element of where I'm at in my filmmaking career has, like, it's not even something I consider. I probably should start thinking about that. It's very wise of you to consider it. I have said before, like, when I write, I try to not think of any limitations or like, where will this go? I just try to just write whatever it is I want to say. And then once you see if you can actually make it on a practical level, then you can shape it the way it needs to be, like on a realistic, pragmatic level. But yeah, distribution, I can't speak to that, unfortunately, but maybe you can teach me a thing or two. I really don't know.
Well, I had the same experience when I first started where, you know, you're just trying to be creative, so that you don't know about that. But over the years, like now, I definitely do think about it. But that's because so when beginning students ask, like, how can you get into film and stuff, it's like, what I tell them is just start small. Like I started, the first thing I did was like a 3-minute, $20 it cost me, kind of thing. And then slowly it's like you just get higher and higher. You try to get a bigger budget. You try to work with, like, this is the first time I worked with SAG. I've never done that before. I was very intimidated. But just each film is going to be more, you aim higher, right? You have a bigger budget. You want to execute it better. So I did, learn about distribution like along the way. And so I think it is smart. You're already ahead if you're thinking about that and you're aware that that exists. So in terms of how do you balance staying true with it, I do the same thing when I write. I still write just freely, like as if I would have, all the money in the world to do this. But then when you get to casting and locations and stuff, then you do have to go, okay, well, this scene, I'm going to tweak it this way and that way. So I think there's a way for you to just start with your dreams, okay? And then you start looking at the logistics and seeing what can you do, can you not do. And personally, I mean, I'd like to, of course, get distributed and stuff, and I have some limited, distribution like online and stuff. But in terms of, would you change anything if someone asked you, if they're like investors or producers and they say, you need to cut this or do that, that's going to be up to you when you decide. I'm kind of stubborn, and so it would be very uncomfortable. I haven't yet had to do it, but I don't know. I think there's certain things I'd be willing to do and other things that I just would be like, there's no point for me to do that, So that's as far as I've gone.
I also have not gotten very far with distribution yet. Inshallah, in the future, we will be getting there. But kind of like same thing you were saying, the last thing I want is for my idea to be dampened by, will this be shown somewhere? And if I put this in there, will people want to see it? Or because, at the end of the day, it's my story and I'm doing it for me. Selfishly, and so I'm gonna do what I can to stick to the story for the art's sake. Yeah.
Same for me. I did think about distribution. I said mine is much smaller project. It's not even a SAG project by choice. So I have thought of it, okay, where am I gonna show it? And I'm like, it's such a small project. Like what I think where I'm gonna go for with it is that smaller community events like we have mixers and all. We just rent like a space like this and just have a show. Just get the word out. Again, it's a passion project. The concept actually thought of in 2018, and I'm finally getting to do it. So it's more for me, but for some reason, and it's become. I started with a proof of concept, then it changed to short film, and now we basically decided to go as for a pilot episode. So inshallah, so that's where I think I'm gonna go. Just get the word out and have space like this, and then look for some community support then.
Yeah. And just kind of educationally, short films really don't have a distribution path. There's very little revenue. And so in a way, it gives you that opportunity to just double down on your own vision and use that as a proof of concept to get people to buy into maybe the larger vision. And so that's how shorts can be helpful. And that's what I did with my first feature. I did a short and then made a feature based on the short. So, yeah.
Oh, if you can please stand up.
Yep.
I'm really glad that you kind of touched on the conversation of how difficult and expensive it is to make movies. And I'm very fascinated by the philosophy and art of would you create if no one is going to see your art? I think it becomes a very difficult conversation when it comes to filmmaking. So I want to ask, if no one was to watch your movies, would you still make them? If you knew there was going to be no audience?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because obviously somebody's going to see your film, and because it's a team sport, you're also employing other people who are making that. And in the making of it, people get experience, and you have relationships that build, and you work together on something, and that in and of itself has value. And so there's the work itself, and then even though my film hasn't done gangbuster numbers, like I'll get the one person who will geek out on me about my film, and that happens every few months or every year. I'll meet somebody, I'll screen it, somebody will discover it. And it's amazing how just that one person and their experience makes it worth it,
But what if there wasn't that one person? What if
But that's what I'm saying. The work itself has value. The work itself, because again, the people are working on it. There's value in that. Yeah,
It's in a weird way, maybe I'm also a masochist, because it's kind of therapeutic making films, and to put all of this, while you're on set, you're putting all of this emotion into something that you've been working on for, in many cases, years. And that emotional release, I think, is something that is, for me, is very important, and something that, makes me love filmmaking even more. So, I mean, it's hard to give an answer to that question because I'd really have to think about it more, but I would like to say yes. Yeah.
Other questions?
Yeah, I think we have time for one more. Oh,
There's
yes.
one.
Okay.
Just from the perspective of a viewer, I'm sure you guys talked about this earlier, but navigating maybe cultural or religious or family expectations versus doing what you want to do anyway, because you guys talked about you just have to do it even if you're afraid or if there's reservations. How do you navigate that with the stuff that you want to do and let it pour into your work? Because that could be kind of a roadblock as somebody that creates.
I just do it anyways. I have the philosophy, do it first and ask for forgiveness later. And my parents don't like that very much, but it's something that it's always been me my entire life. And with Spectator, and also, they liked my first film because it was about them, but with Spectator, They were like, "Are you sure you want to put this out there? You know, like air out all of your dirty laundry and just let the entire world know that you struggle with your body." I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, I do." And if they don't understand it, or even like some of my friends are like, "Why are you doing that?" It's because I need to, and I really want to, and like absolutely no regrets there. So maybe this isn't the best advice, but I would say just do it anyways and just ask for forgiveness later.
Oh man, I don't want to go on a rant, but I just feel like sometimes people, like society and stuff, they don't always know what they're talking about, okay? Because like a lot of people from back home, they kind of were raised with this colonialized mentality, and they're just afraid to take risks. It's like, just earn money, be quiet, stay in the corner, don't make any waves, right? I'm glad that's changing. It is changing though, you know, because they didn't understand. They're like, we brought you to this country, you have so many opportunities. Why are you choosing something that is, you know, not very prestigious or whatever, right? But, you know, in the older Islamic empires and stuff, I mean, we were the heads of everything. We were the innovators, and people followed us, you know. And I don't like this following mentality that people have now, and the fear, like, you know, even when I was trying to go into philosophy years ago, you know, it was like, don't do that, you'll be messed up and stuff. But I think you can do anything if you know who you are. You stay true to yourself. You don't let other people intimidate you and stuff. And that goes for the outside world. It goes for your family too, and your community. Years later, people are like, yeah, like it's totally normal. Like I have a lot of Muslim students in my like logic class and taking philosophy and stuff. Same thing with filmmakers, you know. A lot of times it was frustrating because it was like there were two sides. You're either religious and you don't do art stuff, or you weren't very practicing and you were fully immersed in entertainment world, you know. And I'm glad that's changing. So I feel like there's a way to do what you want to do as long as you're true to yourself and don't sell yourself out. But it should be respectable, and people should respect that you want to do what you want to do.
One more question, and okay, there you go. Please stand up.
What is the first step an aspiring filmmaker should take? Like, should they refine their vision first? Should they like have a script? When should someone start focusing on casting or on selecting locations? How can one source music which is free to use? How does one make their, kind of their first production happen?
Okay.
It's a big question.
What was the first one? The first one, what should an aspiring filmmaker do first?
Yeah.
Like refining your vision or creating a script.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every filmmaker's process is different, but I would say it's hard to make a movie if you don't have a script. At least traditional narrative movies, it's kind of difficult because the script is the framework, and it's what you follow as a director. So having a script is what I would say personally, like the first step. Yeah.
I would just say one piece of advice, I guess I would say, is I wish I had more women on my crew. Communication is so much better. The comfort level, everyone's going to be doubting you, and you're asking all the right questions about music, clearance, and all of that. People are still going to think you don't know what you're doing. So it's great to educate yourself as much as possible, and also surround yourself with people that believe in you.
I think if you're starting out, you might not know all the stuff in the industry, because I mean, I sure didn't when I started out, right? So that's what that's the advice I give to anyone. If you want to start in the film industry, start with something tiny, like a 3-minute film. Make it with no money, just like your family in your house, whatever. Okay. Everything that you do, keep setting your sights a little bit higher. The next one will be like 10 minutes. The next one will be like cost. And that's how I did it, because the process is very long and complicated, and you want experience. So for example, suppose someone gave you $1 million right now to make a movie, right? If you don't know how to spend it, you're like, what am I supposed to do with this $1 million? I'll blow it all on like a good camera. And then you didn't think about art direction and costuming, wardrobe, actors, this, that, location, permits, all that stuff. So you learn by doing. in fact, there are questions that you wouldn't even have until you got to like the fifth little project that you started doing, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I get this. Like when I first started, I didn't know what a producer was. I was like, what is a producer? I know what a director does. I didn't know what a producer.
Still don't know.
Yeah. So
I got a surprise. I said, I have to do all of that.
Yes, exactly. So so start small and just keep setting your sights higher, because it's not like you're going to get perfect on the first try. You have to get the experience. You have to get your feet wet. And so everything you do, you're going to learn. Even till now, every project, I learned some different angle of the business from that. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, these conversations can just go on and on and on. It's hard to stop. And I have to be the bad guy of telling everyone that. So just wanted to recognize our panel and our moderator one more time. A round of applause for everyone.